And again, welcome. I am Vivian. I'm with Hillsborough County Public Libraries, and I'm here with Kelsey, who will be presenting tonight's topic, which is Bloom's literature.
Hello, I'm Kelsey. So this resource that we're going to do today is Bloom's literature, and it's a really good resource that can be found on our website under Learning and Research and Literature and Books. And we're just going to take a brief walk through this resource for today's topic. So what is Bloom's literature? Bloom's literature is a database of literature resources and criticism curated by literary experts. It's named after Harold Bloom, who was a highly accomplished literary scholar. Bloom's literature is geared towards high school students. And then the different features of Bloom's literature include thousands of full-text poems and literary classics, full-length videos of classic plays and films. They have a Shakespeare Center, Bloom's How to Write About Literature, Harold Bloom's Canon of Literature, author interviews, browsable timelines, complete indexes on authors, characters, and works, essay topics, students and educator curriculum tools, save to Google Drive, and single sign-on with Google or Microsoft. Okay, so this is the main part of Bloom's literature when you open up the resource. It has lots of nice, attractive tiles that look really nice. So it has most studied authors, most studied works. It has all of the browsable different resources. And it has a How to Write About center that's near the right bottom of your screen. Showing other parts, here we go. And this is just a bigger version of what was on the home page of everything that you can click on. So it has the full indexes of the authors, works, and characters. And mainly what I went on about of the different features. It's got the special features of How to Write About, Shakespeare Center, and Bloom's Canon. Next slide. So as an additional library source, we have tutor.com. So you can use Bloom's literature to help write a paper. And tutor.com is also helpful with that. They're available and for any topic that you need. It's not just for papers. You could also, if you need help with math or if you need help prepping for an ACT exam, SAT, GRE, tutor.com is awesome. And you can download it to your Apple device or Android. Okay. So this first slide that we're going to go through is author index. It's Edgar Allan Poe. I've decided that a good way to show you guys all the features on Bloom's literature is to go through as if we're picking a topic, and I thought Edgar Allan Poe would be a good resource. So I chose Edgar Allan Poe. And then just need to find the video. Get the video to play. There we go. Works. Okay, this is Annabel Lee. Okay, so I chose the poem Annabel Lee, which is by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm just scrolling through right now. And this is the actual poem. And it's one of his most famous, and he wrote it in the last year of his death in 1849, and it was published 2 days after his death. So it's, you can do a whole URL for a direct link to the poem. And then you can go from there to references. So from here for the references, you can go to different essay topics. And How to Write About Annabel Lee also gives you some more resources for your essay. Here's for essay topics, Annabel Lee. And it gives you some really good topics that you can go from and improve upon, really narrow down. And here's more of How to Write About Annabel Lee, which just gives you a couple more. So it gives you some passages and then topics and strategies and themes to really help you focus your essay. It tells you what the language is and imagery and symbolism, and it gives you all of a whole further resources section as well. And we also have the overview or synopsis of the poem itself. And this poem is said to be written about his wife, Virginia Clem, who died 2 years before he wrote his poem. Virginia Clem was his cousin that he married when he was 27 and she was 13. And she died of tuberculosis when she was 24. So this poem is said to be like an elegy to Virginia Clem. So we have that also. Okay, so we have the thematic or structural analysis of the poem as well. So that's going along. There we go. This just goes over the structure, and based on how the poem is structured, it's just one person's analysis of it, of the different themes in it, and how a lot of his works feature deaths of beautiful women in Poe's works. We also have topic and theme of him and his wife, and how she is featured in his other literary works, but how mostly it's Annabel Lee. So this just goes over some of his relationship with her and goes over kind of her biography and how they met. And then from there, we'll go to criticism. And so criticism, these are really good resources. So we have Immortal Love, which is an enduring kind of theme throughout Poe's works. And it's not just with Annabel Lee, it's also Lenore in The Raven, and we have a few other characters throughout his works that he focuses on immortal love. And then we also have really cool images, like this one is Poe's handwritten version of Annabel Lee. So it could be written on like a napkin or a piece of paper and him just scribbling it down, and it goes from there and we can make it full screen, and he has very nice handwriting, much better than mine. And it transformed into this great poem that we now have. And here's a nice artist rendition of it, of Annabel herself. And we also have an additional library resource. So this is called A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dewitziak. And we have this book in our catalog. It just came out recently. If you go on our website and hcplc.org/books, and you can find this book. I actually have a copy here. I have not started it yet, but it looks amazing, and it goes over the last few months of Poe's death, because the cause of his death is still unknown. He was found on the streets of Baltimore, Maryland in 1849, and he was ranting and raving, and they don't know why he died. So this book goes into that. So definitely check it out. Okay, and now we also have, these are some of the special resources. So here's the full text literary classics that you can get full ebooks of virtually any classic that you are reading, you want to read, you need it for school or for an essay, you can access it from here. So I'm just going to look up Edgar Allan Poe to get to his works, and then go to the complete poetical works. Brings it up everything that's from info-based books. It's going to give me a huge document that you can either save it, or you can cite it or download it. And it gives you a whole table of contents of all of his poems on the right side. It looks very nice and very fancy. And Annabel Lee is definitely in there somewhere, along with everything else, all of its other poems. Then we also have literary movements as on Bloom's Literature. And so One that Poe is involved in is the Gothic literature. So this involves a lot of horror, which definitely fits Annabel Lee and his other works. And it's both American and British. Poe is American, but he writes a lot, like his short story, The Telltale Heart, The Raven. They all fit in this like horror aspect, driven by like murder and all these spooky things. And then next we're going to go to themes, literary themes that go across multiple works of literature of the whole literary canon that are like general. So here we have alienation is something that features in multiple works. Like in this article, it has like for Stephen Dedalus and Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, and Albert Camus, The Stranger. So if you're looking for something and you're going to write an essay and you want to just go with something that's over a range of different works, and you want this as your connecting a connection for your essay, you can go with alienation if you wanted to connect Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man and The Sound and the Fury and The Stranger. You could use alienation in that as like a compare contrast essay. That's very helpful. And we also have timelines of literary history. Poe was born in the 1800s, so we're going to go to 19th century literature timeline, 1801 to 1900. And then I'm just going to enter in Edgar Allan Poe, so it brings me to all of his stuff and the events in his life and his publication history. So it shows he was born and all of the events in his life, when he gets married, when his wife dies, when he dies as well, and then more publication history about him after he has died and his memorial grave in 1875. And then the last resource that we have is Shakespeare Center. And this is an amazing resource that it gives you different mediums that you can experience Shakespeare all in one place, which is like never before. So if we go to Hamlet, we can see the overview, including the background synopsis. We can go through key passages, characters, videos about like certain scenes. But yeah, so the character list, like we have the ambassador and Bernardo, and criticism, Hamlet and the art of grafting. We also have images. And then we have a bunch of reference. That's helpful. And that goes through the different scenes. So that is an awesome resource that I highly encourage you to check out, especially if you're going to write a Shakespeare essay. You need all the help you can get, and this is a great one. Once Stop and Shop, go for it. So it's great. Okay, so for Q&A.
Hey, Kelsey.
Hey. Hello.
Just wanted to see what made you interested in this resource.
What made me interested in this resource is I was an English major, and I focused on a lot of different parts of the literary canon, but I come back to Edgar Allan Poe a lot because I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, so he died in Baltimore, Maryland. But I really like this resource because I've read a lot of Harold Bloom's excellent works discussing works on Shakespeare. He writes a lot of good stuff on that. But it's one of our newer resources that we got a couple of years ago. We have one that's similar. It's called Gale Literature, which is also worth checking out. But this one is just super attractive to the eye with these different tiles. And this Shakespeare Center that has all this different content in just one small area, that it's much easier to access than a lot of different databases. And it's a really good starting point for things. So I thought it was really cool.
It does seem super user-friendly and great for students to get started into their research projects. I was also an English major, so,
Yes, English majors unite.
The library does draw us to them. Yep.
Yes.
Very true. So yeah, I know you said you were especially drawn to Edgar Allan Poe because you're also from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes.
Do you know any other fun facts about Edgar Allan Poe that you could share with us?
Edgar Allan Poe, he was adopted in his early life. Let me see what else we have on Edgar Allan Poe. For all of the works that he completed in the literary canon that we have of like The Pit and the Pendulum, The Telltale Heart, The Raven, all of that stuff he came up with before the age of 40. He wasn't really well known as a writer of like short stories and poetry during his life. He was more of a literary critic instead. And he had this ongoing feud with another critic of who could cut the other's stuff more.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't think they ever actually won any, like which one won that kind of debate, that little fight.
It was just ongoing.
Yes, it was ongoing throughout both of their careers. But so yeah, he has a lot of great stuff for only a short amount of his whole life.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He's able to accomplish a lot. So, but yeah, I had no idea that he wasn't really well known as an author of short stories until after his death, I guess.
Yeah, and this poem, Annabel Lee, it was published 2 days after he died.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this was written sometime in like possibly like summer of 1849, but yeah, he died on October 7th, and then this appeared and was published on October 9th.
Intriguing.
Which is, yeah, for something, it's really fitting for a poem that's so fitted to death, for it to be published posthumously. And you can kind of think of it like that he's reuniting with his Annabel Lee, that he's reuniting with Virginia Clem by the time that people read this poem. It's a more romantic way to think of it.
It is, yeah. It's kind of, there he is with his now lost love, no longer lost.
Yes, exactly.
Is there anything else you wanted to share about Bloom's literature that we weren't able to go over today?
I think we were able to go into a lot of it. There are some teacher resources, and like for teachers, there's an avoiding plagiarism and discussing plagiarism and what it is and how to track it and how to make sure you're not, and on the part for the students on how to make sure that you're citing your resources properly so it doesn't come up that you're plagiarizing, especially if you don't intend to. So that's something that we didn't get to access. I didn't really have time to fit that into our program for tonight. That's also there.
Sure, it's a great resource because I know I always had difficulty every time I had to go and cite my sources. I had to look up, how do I format this? How do I do it the proper way?
Yeah, we didn't really go into like saving anything. Like I said, it could save to like Google Drive and everything. We didn't go into that, but you can cite everything that we all the different articles that we clicked on. It'll give you different citations. So we didn't exactly go into that, but you can do that as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let me see. Okay, so now we're just going to go and wrap up the program.
Okay, so you can contact us at hcplc.org/contact, and our phone number is 813-273-3652. And for more programs online and in branches, and if you like this one, visit hcplc.org/events.
Great.
Take it away.
That's great. Yep.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kelsey.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we do have, if you did enjoy this program, we have another program on poetry, which connects to Edgar Allan Poe, and that'll be on Monday at 6 p.m. It is actually with the inaugural wordsmith of Tampa, Gianna Russo, so hope you guys can join us for that one. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.